I don't know how much do we want to spoil this one. You know what? You spoil it. You give away the big resolution at the court case.
I'm around this fucking shit, dude. I'm happy to, because that's what we do. So he's Tony. I'm Mike. We're here to watch World Burn. We're back. Christmas is over. Holidays are over. We're back to normal. Here we are.
Episode 17.
So, anyways, episode 17. Leave Her to Heaven. This has like been 2 months in the making, maybe actually a little bit longer, because we talked about this before Positive ID.
Yeah.
So, and you ordered it.
Yeah.
And then, Pretty Woman came. And then the Three Kings came. And so we are finally. So Leave Her to Heaven was released in December 20th of 1945. Was based on the book of the same name. Leave Her to Heaven. Let's see. It was written by Ben Ames Williams. When they bought the rights to this book, it wasn't published yet. Still, even so, the studio still spent $100,000 in 1945 money. Yeah, for an unpublished novel. That's
it wasn't.
Badass.
It may have been unpublished, but I was going to say the box office speaks volumes about this movie. So
go ahead.
I was going to say, if I'm not mistaken, this was Fox's highest grossing film of the decade.
Yeah.
Decade. For 10 years, no movie made more money than this one. And here's the thing. This was not a cheap film. This was 1945. It was right after World War II. And this was filmed in Technicolor. It was filmed in multiple locations. It had top-tier talent. And so what was the budget on this film?
I didn't see the budget.
So,
didn't see it. I'm sure it's probably every bit of a couple million.
I would actually say I would assume probably right around the $1 million mark. Because back then, $1 million on a movie was a lot. If you stop and think about it, this movie came out just a few months after the war ended. And so, I don't know. I guess like people were... I guess they're banking on the fact that people were tired of war movies. Like the war was over. Hey, let's sit back. Let's relax. Let's fuck off. Let's do something a bit more escapist.
So here's the funny thing about this is, okay, so it's released after the war, but then it's also released 5 days before Christmas. You get this movie for your holiday entertainment. Not exactly appropriate. Because this is a dark film. This is a very edgy film for fucking 1945. There's all sorts of fucking taboo bullshit in this fucking movie.
Yes. And I was gonna say, I mean, this is the first movie. Gene Tierney had done Laura, which was a big noir film, and it was the year before this. And then the year after this, she did The Razor's Edge. Now, I don't know if you know this. The Razor's Edge is one of 3 films that if it's on, I don't give a shit what's going on. I'm sitting down and I'm watching The Razor's Edge. I love that movie. I have loved that movie for a very, very, very long time. And it is the film that made me fall in love with Gene Tierney. You should go through the cast. That way this makes sense to people.
Right. Well, before we get that, it was directed by John M. Stahl, adapted by Joe Swirling. Okay, now we can get to the cast. So we have Gene Tierney as Ellen Burnett Harlan, who is the main character of the film. And just like you mentioned, Gene Tierney was cast for this because of her performance of from the film Laura. Gene Tierney had a good career. She worked pretty solidly from 1940 to 1964 in film, and then did some TV after that as well.
So she has a tragic story. I mean, not to get too deep into it, but she had like there's some really horrible shit that happened to Gene Tierney, which I think really informed her performance on this because she was a manic depressive. She came from a very well-to-do family, but she married against her family's wishes. They eloped. They divorced a couple years later. She did remarry. She was given rubella, German measles, or German fever, German flu. I'm not sure what it was, but while she was pregnant with her daughter Daria, and because she got exposed to that during her pregnancy, her daughter was born mentally deficient and she was partially blind and deaf.
Oh wow!
So yeah, like I said, there's a lot of gravity to it. So yeah, it's like I said, it's the glamour that was on front in front of the camera was not happening behind the camera. And she had very wealthy friends. She was, friends with Howard Hughes, and he apparently had, made overtures to her, but because she came from a moneyed family, she really wasn't interested in what he was bringing to the table. So, good for her. Stick to your guns. Anyway, I'm sorry. I did not mean to go off on that, but I adore Gene Tierney,
Yeah.
and she's a fascinating actress. She's an underrated actress, and she's been in several of my favorite movies. So when Mike dug this one up, I was all in, and I feel pretty good about that. So
Moving on here, we have Cornell Wilde as Richard Harlan, who Cornell Wilde you'll remember from Forever Amber. He had a really long, prolific career from 41 to 85. He also wrote and directed several films too. One that I took particular interest to me is called No Blade of Grass, which he did in 1970 as a post-apocalyptic science fiction film. He co-wrote, directed, and produced. So next we have Jean Crane as Ruth Burnett, who is Ellen's foster sister. Um,
she was born her cousin, but then something happened to her parents and she was adopted into their family. So she was raised as a sister, and legally she was their daughter, but she was actually
actually cousin. Yeah. Jean Crane also had a pretty good career. She went from like 1943 to 1975. She received an Oscar nomination for Best Actress for a 1949 film called Pinky. She played the lead role for. She also has several movies that I want to look at too, but I'll get to those later in the recommendations.
fair enough.
Which they won't only be recommendations; they'll be recommendations for myself.
There you go. Whatever works, man. Whatever works. So.
And then we have a very, very young Vincent Price as Russell Quinton, who is Ellen's ex-fiance, unfortunately for him. And he plays a great role in this. I love him
Yes.
as the attorney in this film.
He's only in like 3 segments in the film, but man, when he is on screen, you get it. Vincent Price is amazing in this. So yeah, his first appearance in the film is so tense and
Yeah.
so earnest and so like well, he's being a gentleman about it, but there's like that undercurrent of rage
Oh
that's
yeah.
there, and it's so palpable, it's so powerful, it's such a great performance for him.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's the first time I ever see him in a role like this. Where he wasn't like the bad guy, even though he kind of comes off like a bad guy, but he's really not a bad guy. He's just
Oh.
a poor guy that gets fucking dumped and then manipulated at the end.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll get to that. So to start us off,
um this, like I said, the title of it, "Leave Her to Heaven," it's that Shakespeare reference from Hamlet. They're trying to let you know right off the bat, this is heading into dark territory. This is not going to be a light and airy film, which is kind of funny because it starts off and you have the introduction, and Cornell Wilde is arriving at the dock, and he's being dropped off by a boat, and the gentleman that plays his attorney is sitting there and says hello to him, and then Cornell Wilde gets in a canoe and starts rowing over to where his cabin is,
Back
and
to the moon is what they
yeah,
call it.
Back at the Moon is in the name of his lodge, and he kind of introduces it. Let me tell you, I was involved with it. I introduced them. Let me tell you, everything that I know, because there's stuff that didn't appear in the court records, and you find out that Cornell Wilde has just gotten out of prison. He's been in for 2 years. So that's the kickoff right there, and it's a bit of a teaser. I don't know that it's necessary. It's not a great teaser for this film,
No, it's
but
not.
I get why it's there because the payoff at the end is so satisfying. We kick off there, and he basically tells the story of how what the hell is Cornell Wilde's character? It's Dick.
Richard.
Yeah, it's Richard. It's Dick and Ellen in this movie, and they meet on a train. Now, if you're not paying attention, it's there's Ellen, and she's sitting there, and Gene Tierney is looking completely put together and crazy hot, and there's Cornell Wilde, Dick. He's sitting there, and he looks up and sees fucking smoking hotness across the train, and he can't take his eyes off her. It's completely convincing,
No, it's,
just on
it's
the
the other way
surface.
around. It's the exact opposite. She can't take her eyes off of him. She stares at him the whole train ride.
Well, but more importantly than that,
No,
she's
that's
reading.
very important actually
Well,
because
no,
that's the crux of her whole character.
there's more to it though. She's reading his book.
Mm-hmm.
And if you pay attention, if you look on the back cover, there's a picture of him big as life. And this comes into play later, but he asks her, well, what does she think of it? And she's like, oh, it's quite good. And he's like, I thought it was kind of sloppy. And she's like, well, now that you say that, so do I. And they kind of get this little banter back and forth, and then they train station is like, here's your stop. So she gets up to leave, and he's like, oh shit, this is my stop too. And when they get off the train, they realize that they are both there to meet the attorney.
Before we go any further, one other thing I want to point out, so not only is she, staring him the whole entire time they're on the train, she also mentions the fact that he looks like her father, and that's why she was staring, and that becomes important later on.
Yes.
Go
Anyway, so you get introduced to Ruth, who is Ellen's adopted cousin sister.
And every bit as hot as Gene Tierney.
Yeah. And not only is she every bit as hot as Gene Tierney, the resemblance between them is staggering. So much so that, like, if you are not paying attention, it'll be real easy to confuse one for the other.
Yeah, and I got confused several times watching the film. Like, wait, which one is this?
So,
yeah.
So. But so it's brilliant casting.
Yes.
And then there's Mother. What is her name? Brent? What? I don't know that they ever actually say her name.
They don't really say it. Just call Mother.
It's Ellen, Ruth, Dick, the attorney, and Mom. That's all you need to know. Just leave it there. But what winds up happening is they invite Dick to come back to their place, or no, they're all staying at the same place, if I'm not mistaken. It's the same little like resort. Yeah. And you start getting some family history that what Ellen and Ruth and Mom are there for is their father passed away, and they are there to perform his last wishes. They're going to scatter his ashes because this was like his favorite place. He loved this particular resort. Dick is there because he's supposed to be working on a book, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, as the story progresses, you see that Dick is kind of like trying to. He realizes that Ellen's engaged. She's got a giant rock, and she references her fiance several times. But he's still sniffing around. He's not being too overt about it, but like whenever Ellen goes for a walk, he's going to go for a walk. And when Ellen goes for a horseback ride, well, he's going to go just, take a horse out and go for a trot around.
Here's a weird thing about this, though, is that the family knows that he's kind of sniffing around, and they don't.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we know right here. She went for a walk.
Yeah.
Over this way, literally pointing him to where to go to find her.
Yes.
Which, hindsight now, looking back on it, it's like, why did you do that? Why'd you fuck poor Cornell Wilde?
I just gonna say he asked, they answered. So
no, he didn't even get a chance to ask. They gave out the information without solicitation. They just like.
The flip side is that based on what you find out about Ellen later on, it's quite possible that she insisted that, hey, if he comes looking for me, tell him I'm here. Anyway, so Cornell Wilde, there's a dinner as part of the memorial, and they actually show a photo of their father, and it is the spitting image of Cornell Wilde with a mustache. And nobody can deny the resemblance at this point anymore. It's made known that they're going to scatter the ashes. And Ellen's always been very artificial. I'm watching this for the first time, and it's like, where's Gene Tierney? I'm not seeing her acting chops in this. And then we get to the scene where they're scattering the ashes. And their mom and Ruth are on their horses, and they're over there on the side, and you finally get a glimpse at all of Gene Tierney's talent, because she's writing and she's got the urn and she's scattering the ashes, and she doesn't look sad. She looks enraged. She's writing and very callously just flinging the ashes off each side of the horse, and then she gets done dumping the ashes out and she throws the urn, and it's like, okay, there's my Gene Tierney, there's my girl right there. The girl's got chops. We find out, as they're staying at the resort, the lodge, that Ellen is quite the proficient swimmer, and that Dick is working on his book, and now she's starting to pop up wherever he is.
Yeah.
And she comes swimming up to him, and he notices that she's not wearing her engagement ring. He's wondering if it fell off while she was swimming, and she's like, no, I took it off. And very in your face about it. I'm not going to be married to that man anymore. I have different plans, and those plans include you, Cornell Wilde, you. And Cornell Wilde's like, you're Gene Tierney. I'm good. So, this is all right by me. And she telegraphs her fiance, tells him that the wedding is off, and she waits for him. Cornell Wilde, Dick and Ellen come walking in, and they're holding hands, and they're smiling, and they're having a wonderful time. And Vincent Price has just walked in, and they let go of each other's hands. And oh shit, we're busted. And then Vincent Price is like, can I speak to you alone for a minute? And they go back into the private room, and this is one of the hottest, most intense scenes. The anger is so palpable there, and not only is Vincent Price's performance just absolutely gold, but then Gene Tierney is just coming off as this aloof. She does everything but say "fuck you, I never cared about you."
Yeah.
But she does it with no words. It is all in the way that she's holding herself and her attitude and the way she's addressing him. And this is a man that she had been engaged to a day before, but that telegram, boy, when she calls it off, she fucking calls it off. And he's like, could I talk you into, she basically tells him, look, me and Dick are getting married. We're getting married as soon as possible. And he's like, could I talk you into maybe waiting until after, the election? I'm running for office, and this might hurt my chances, might damage me with the voters. And her response is, the only thing that you'll get is my vote. Seeing as she's not going to wait to get married, Vincent Price is like, all right, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm on my way. And Cornell Wilde naturally comes in, presumably to see if she's okay, because he knows that was the last conversation of their engagement. And that's when she's all like, let's get married. and
and that's where I got the first hint, shit's going to end bad. It's
Yeah.
just going to end really bad.
So it's but the funny thing is that it's so fucking convincing. It's well directed, well acted, well paced, and even though like in terms of what's going on in the film, we're not 15 minutes in at this point, but you're on board at this point. It is efficient storytelling,
Very, very.
perfectly executed. They're getting married, and he agrees to it, and there's that now just to keep things on a visual storytelling level, we don't bother with the wedding ceremony. There is no glorious gown, none of that shit. Mm-mm.
No.
No, no. We immediately cut to them going to meet Richard's younger brother, and he is crippled. I'm going to assume that it's polio that he had. He is in a hospital for long-term care of infirmed patients, and he's a charming lad. He is, again, it's a very 40s-esque style performance. He's very chipper and very,
Oh
by
yeah.
golly Jiminy, and
Oh, he's fucking Tiny Tim, but 14.
well, yeah, well, he's 40. What? But Ellen has
However old he
working.
is.
Yeah, well, Ellen has been working with him. She's been spending a lot of time with him, teaching him how to walk on crutches, and they did this so that they could surprise Dick because she's really coming off as I'm committed to this relationship, and I want to be the perfect wife. I want to be here for you. I want to be here for your brother. I want to do everything for you. It's very it's you're getting kind of a tone of just a hint of the obsession at this particular point, and so it's all going along well, and they decide they're going to go spend some time at Back of the Moon, which is the fishing lodge, and she goes and she talks to the doctor. Now this is when you get a first real glimpse, and again, this is just the power of her performance here. She's basically like saying like she first she asked the doctor, it's not really possible he can't come and live with us, can he? I mean, that's not a thing. He's got to be here, right? And the doctor's like, no, I think it would do a world of good for him to come and live with you, and he'll be able to get along fine. And she's like, we just got married. And then she's just finally like, you know what? I did this. I helped him learn how to walk on the crutches. I don't want to do anymore. And Dick comes in while this exchange is happening, and she switches gears immediately. And the doctor's like, yeah, I was just telling her that I think it would do him a world of good to come and live with you guys, stay with you guys permanently. And she's like, oh, that's wonderful news. I'll call him and tell him.
Yeah.
and she picks up the phone and she's like, you're gonna come and stay with us, and we're gonna go to Back of the Moon, and it's this is again, this is that first real like hint of like, okay, shit is not at all what it seems, and the woman you're getting, the woman that uh Dick is seeing at home is not the woman that she is by any stretch of the imagination. um so they go to Back of the Moon, which is this lovely little cabin. It's set up in the woods. It's beautiful, it's scenic, it's absolutely incredible. And she wants to cook for him, and she wants to clean for him, and there's a man that lives there, and it takes care of the property for them, and he's a dear friend of Richard's, but she does not want him doing anything. That's her job, damn it.
It is, and it's even stated earlier when we had that first scene of them at their house when they first get married. It's like, nobody's gonna do anything for you except for me. I'm gonna cook. I'm gonna clean. I'm gonna take over everything. I'm gonna be the one taking care of you. Nobody else.
Yeah, and,
No
and
man.
it seems like a lovely sentiment when it's delivered the first time. I mean, the way that the situation that it's delivered in, where she's setting the dinner table and she's wearing this beautiful peasant blouse and this lovely dress, and she's just trying to set up as a happy homemaker. It all seems so sweet and innocent. And then when the guy who takes care of the property, when Richard's off doing his thing or whatever, it starts to take a bit of a dark turn here.
Yeah,
Which,
she treats him more like a slave.
so
And she says he's her servant, right? It's like, no, he's not our servant. He's our friend and a very good friend, and you're being a twat.
Yeah, well, yeah, and not in so many words, but yeah, definitely. The other issue that comes up is that because of how thin the walls are, and the fact that everybody can hear everything that's going on in every room, there's almost no privacy. So, they establish this with like a morning ritual where Gene Tierney gets up and she very quietly comes over and she hovers over Richard and she's just looking down at him and she's not saying anything. She's just watching him for a minute, and then the little brother starts knocking on the wall and talking to him through the walls, and the conversation is completely unimpeded by the fact that there's a wall there.
Yeah.
And so you kind of get a little bit of a glimpse. They feed you just enough so that that yeah, there's not an awful lot of loud hanky panky going on, because little man hearing everything that's going on. So you start to kind of chalk it up to, maybe she's just frustrated. This is not exactly what she signed on for. And she's trying to, do all these lovely, nice things for her new husband, who she's completely smitten with. And just like all this other shit is raining on their parade. And that's all by design. And again, this well crafted, efficiently told storytelling. There comes a point where like Richard is outside. He's working on his new book. He's typing away, and she confesses, I hate that you're working on that. I hate that is taking time away from me and you." And he's like, "Well, I've got a wonderful, splendid surprise for you." And she's like, "Oh, really, darling? What's that?" And up comes the boat, and little brother and their buddy who takes care of the property are in the boat, and they are bringing Ruth and Mom to the property to come stay with them for a while. And this does not please Ellen. She is mad. um, so they have to put on a smiley face for the company that's arrived. And anybody that's been in any kind of a long-term relationship, they know exactly what's going on in this scene. There is that anger and rage, but while company's there, they're, "Would you like more coffee, honey?" "Yeah, sure, dear. That would be swell." So it's really well done. And then the other thing that's going on is like they're having this conversation in front of the fireplace, and you know Ruth and Richard, they're just talking. They're just having a normal conversation, and they're just being friendly, like you know you do with family. But Ellen keeps looking back, and it's very suspicious and very she's given Ruth the evil eye. If Ruth ever looked up and met eyes with her, I would have stared a hole through her. But holy shit, the tension is very obvious. And Ruth and Mom decide, you know what, we're gonna go home. We're gonna leave. We've stayed entirely too long. We're gonna head back to Boston. Is that where they live?
I think so. I think so. Before we get there, though, one little thing I want to point out. So also while they're there, and Ruth and Dick are friends.
Yeah.
And they do talk a lot. And there's one scene where Ruth is out there gardening, and
Yes.
so he refers to it as the girl with the hoe.
Yes.
So Ruth was also helpful to Dick in writing and things like that. That'll come into play later.
So they're gone, and it's just the four of them back at the place. And Danny, who's the little brother, by the way. I should have said that earlier. But Danny has been working on his swimming. He's building up his strength. He's trying to work on it. He really wants to surprise Dick and show him that he can swim all the way from their dock all the way to the other side of the lake again. And he's not going to say anything to him. Ellen is going to help him, and he's going to just learn how to do this. So, Ellen is in a rowboat, and Danny gets in the water, and he starts swimming, and this is a really disturbing, really powerful scene. And I'm just going to say that every femme fatale put on film has tried to imitate the intensity of this scene right here, because Danny starts to struggle and she's encouraging him, keep swimming, Danny, you could do it, it's not too much further, da 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 da. And he starts getting really, really tired, and you can make it, you can make it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then he starts.
it's actually a little more nuanced than that even.
Yes,
Because
yes.
she at first she says you could do it, but then she starts throwing little seeds of doubt in his mind.
Yeah, yeah, you don't want to give up now, do you?
No, no,
Richard.
no, it's not that. It's like
Oh,
I don't know because it doesn't seem like kind of you're making that much progress, Danny.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. uh
yeah. No, no, she throws seeds of doubt in there. And then as he's starting to struggle, then she eggs him on like, "Oh no, you can make it. You can make it. Keep going. Keep going. You're almost there now."
so and then he starts to, and now here's the thing, they've established that Ellen is a excellent swimmer. She's very good in the water, but she's sitting in the rowboat, and Danny starts to really struggle, and then he starts to drown, and she sits there with the most intense look on her face. And again, it's so creepy. It's so powerful. It's
Yeah.
so, I don't want to say sinister, but it's malevolent. It's like this was very obviously done with intent. And she waits till just the right amount of time, and then she stands up and she screams and she like peels her clothes off to make a show of it, and she dives into the water, and Cornell Wilde comes running down to the dock. He sees what's going on, and he dives in the water and swims out there, and they're swimming, they're down trying to get Danny, and Danny does not make it. Danny has passed away. And at this point, they don't show the funeral, um, but they immediately go to Boston, where they have gone to her family home, and just to get away from it because he doesn't want to be at the lodge and all that. And
And so
obviously,
Richard's in a funk now,
yes,
a
yes.
very
Well,
bad funk.
yeah,
So of course, his brother dies, so of course he's gonna be in a
sure.
funk. And then at this point, um, Ellen's like, "Well, fuck, this should be happy times, Now it's just me and you, but you're all sad and all this stuff." And then somebody brings up the great idea. It's like, well, Danny was the only family that he had. Maybe if he has some other family, maybe he'd be happy again.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's have a baby because that fucking fixes everything now, doesn't it?
So, and as weird as it sounds, it's amazing to me. Like here's this fucking neon light warning of that shit don't work from 1945, and here we are in 2021, and people still think that somehow injecting a child into a bad relationship will fix shit.
No,
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 no, just stop right there.
just
But
don't do it.
anyway, um, uh, so what winds up happening is naturally she gets pregnant, but she's having a very difficult time with the pregnancy. She's basically been told, you need to stay on bed rest, you need to not be getting up any more than you have to, because there's such a stress, you could potentially lose the baby. There's a lot going on, and while that's going on, she's watching as Richard and Ruth's relationship, they're getting very friendly. They genuinely have an affection for each other. They're very pally, and it's never with romantic overtones. It's always just friendly,
Yeah.
just genuinely friendly. um and that just pisses her off. That just really makes Ellen filled with jealousy and anger. And there's this great bit of dialogue in there where she's stuck in this room and she can't get up and go do anything, and someone says, well, why don't you have him come in? And she's like, I could never let him see me like this. And it's just like so loaded but so honest, and like you're
Yeah.
completely getting the picture of her motives, that she wants to present herself as in this certain light, and only this light to him. um and it's torturing her as much as it's driving him batshit crazy. So anyway, um, this is where the movie starts to heading into really super dark territory because of the jealousy, and she is on bed rest and she feels. And there's a scene where there was father apparently was a scientist of some sort. He definitely had a more than a passing interest in chemistry. He had a lab slash office that was set
Yeah.
up upstairs, and they decided to clean all that stuff out and move it into the basement, and they're going to convert that into a nursery for the baby. And Ruth and mom are helping Dick, get the room together, and they're decorating with horses, and he's drawing this big mural of a clown on the wall and all that. And when Ellen comes in, she's angry that they changed anything.
Oh
She
yeah.
is angry that they moved her father's stuff. And not a little bit, like a lot. And they're like, he's gone, he's dead. We're making room for the family, and she's usually offended by that. But again, played to perfection. It's not oversold. It's not undersold. She bites her tongue at just the right time. She doesn't, say anything too snippy, but it's enough to let the audience know what's going on in her head, but enough to where, but not done in such a way that other characters are going to be like, oh, I didn't know you'd be so offended. We'll put everything back the way it was. So basically, Ellen has had enough of this shit. She has had a near miss with the baby, and she decides that she is going to throw herself down the steps and cause a miscarriage because she doesn't want to lose her man to Ruth. She does not really want this baby, and she as much says so in that many words to
She
Ruth.
no, she says to Ruth, "I wish I could get rid of this beastly thing."
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So and
Which is fucked up, man. I mean, that's
but
fucked up.
what's more fucked up, and this is one of those like nuanced things that I really appreciate about this movie, is that she does her hair, she does her makeup, she puts on this nightie, this blue nightgown. She looks stunning, and
And
she's wearing
heels.
and pumps, and she comes to the top of the steps and she digs her foot in so that the shoe is stuck under the carpet, and it's shot in like this, like morning light, very sunshiny, and she looks so radiant and so beautiful, and then she falls down the steps, and you hear the scream, and she's laying at the bottom of the steps, and they all come running out. And it's it's wonderful in that it's showing that this was all motivated. She picked the right outfit, she picked the right time, she was going for the maximum amount of impact and drama from this whole circumstance. Anyway, it's really brilliant how they're showing off her motivations without having to, like, this is a perfect example of show don't tell. You can infer everything about her character and why she did what she did and how she did what she did from what you're seeing without a single line of dialogue spoken. And that's, I appreciate that in any movie, but in this movie, ah. Anyway, we go to the hospital. She's lost the baby, and no time for a sense of loss. Immediately cuts to her in the ocean. She's swimming. She is out on the beach. She is smiling. She is wearing this big, bright red swimming suit that says, "Look at me, world." And it's very unsettling. It's again, it's a perfect amount. It's visual storytelling, no dialogue, but you see everything you need to see, and you know just how relieved she is about this. But um, I was going to say, right after that, that's the book comes. She goes up to the house,
Yeah.
and the book is there that Richard finished. It has just arrived from the publisher, and she opens the book up and she sees the dedication, and it's to the girl with the hoe.
Oh.
And this, you
Hang
can
on.
see like
So not only there's that dedication too, but just before that, she's talking with Ruth how Ruth decides she's gonna go to Mexico to hang out for a
yes,
little while. And when Ellen sees the book, oh, the book takes place in Mexico. Oh, is there gonna be a little fucking rendezvous going on with you and Richard? You know, who you going with, Ellen? I mean, Ruth. Oh, I'm just going by myself. Really?
so, yeah,
Ellen ain't
it's
buying any of that. She thinks there's some fucking shenanigans going on with Ruth and Richard.
most, and the other thing is, it's brought up in that conversation that Ruth has never been out of the United States before.
Yes.
This will be her first trip abroad.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. And well, why did you decide to go there? Well, it's all this stuff in Richard's book. Now, the audience knows that Ruth was helping Richard with his book. They probably talked about it. They probably looked through photo albums and this and that to kind of pick locations and all this kind of stuff. But it's all fiction, and she wanted to actually go see the place that they'd spent all this time working on the book.
Yeah.
But Ellen doesn't read it that way. She reads it as, oh, you all have been planning this. You've been planning a rendezvous, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, it all tracks.
Yeah.
Um, and
And
at
then
this
you really
point,
get a glimpse into Ellen,
yeah,
because her and Ruth have it fucking out, and like
yes.
you fucking drove dad to his fucking death. You drove mom to be kind of like disconnected with everything. Um,
Basically, the gist of it is that you don't love anything for itself. You feel like you need to possess it and control everything about it. That's your idea of love. People see you for who you are. Your family knows who you are, Ellen. You are not, the great lover. This is not the great love of your life. You treat everything like a possession, and that's why Dick is so unhappy,
yeah,
because you don't treat him like he's a person. You treat him like he's a possession,
yeah,
and nobody else can have anything to do with him. And the only company that you allow him to have is yourself.
you, yeah,
And that's where Danny and the baby came up. You didn't want to share him with Danny. You didn't want to
that's it.
share him with the baby. It's
Yeah,
all you all the time, and that should be enough. And if it's not, then you're gonna strike out. You're gonna lash out. Um, so Ruth decides, fuck this. I'm skating. I am off on my great whirlwind trip to Mexico. Richard comes back. They have an exchange, and Ellen confesses that yes, she did let Nanny die. Richard is dumbstruck. He's just kind of like, you know what? This is it. We're getting divorced. I'm leaving you. I am packing my shit. I've got a book thing that I'm going to. I'm out of here. And at this point, Ellen Ellen is going to get hers. She goes upstairs. She writes a letter to her former fiance.
Russell.
We don't know what's in the letter. You just see that she's writing a letter, but you know who she's writing it to. And then you see she goes down into the basement to her dad's chemicals, and she goes upstairs and she dumps out a bunch of bath salts, and she is loading it filled with, we have no idea what. Now, when I first saw this, oh, spoilers. When I first saw this, I thought she was putting like a dry acid in the bath salts, and she was basically going to try to disfigure Ruth. That's where my head went on this, was that, she'd already done Danny, and she did the baby, and I thought, well, fuck, she's going to like kill her sister, or at least horribly disfigure her, because she thinks that then there's no way that Dick would want her. That's where my head went. I was completely fucking wrong. Um, Basically, what happens is as Dick is at a hotel, and there's or is he at a hotel or a train station? I don't remember which. But
I think he's at. I don't know. It is where he's at. I think he's at a train station, but he's close to the front desk, and there's a
yeah,
phone call.
yeah, he gets notified there's a phone call, and they tell him go over there and take it, and he answers the phone, and he's like, oh, I'll come back right away. He goes back to the house, and there is Ellen, and she is laying in bed, and she, like, again, does a performance. It's all staged. It's all very loaded. And she dies right
Oh,
there.
hang
She,
on,
like,
hang on, hang on. She dies very creepily. She dies saying, "I will never let you go," and she dies, and she's holding his hand,
yeah,
and he has to work very hard to pull his hand from her fucking cold dead hand.
yeah. So she had basically, sent a letter to her former fiance, who is now the duly elected prosecuting attorney, and she has accused Ruth of trying to kill her. And she basically says that, I know that, Ruth is trying to steal my husband away, and I know that she's got it in for me, and da 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 da. And so when they come in, they search the house, they find that the bath salts aren't bath salts; it's arsenic. And
No, it's
funny
not
enough,
bath salts. It was sugar.
yeah. Well, no, no, no.
Because they poured
It's
sugar in their coffee or something like that, and there's
it's
arsenic.
planted two ways. It's planted two ways. One, the arsenic is put into the bath salts in Ruth's room. That's why they think, they have the direct
Oh,
line. Ruth
gotcha. Yeah,
poisoned
yeah,
her. And
yeah.
then, yeah, Ellen has been poisoned by arsenic in her coffee. Now, what's even more importantly than that, on Ellen's deathbed, she told her husband that she wanted to be cremated and she wanted her ashes scattered where her father's
Yes.
ashes had been scattered at the beginning of the film. But during the trial that comes up after Ruth has been accused of murdering her, it comes to light that no, in her will, she very specifically said that she wanted to be interred and blah, blah, blah. And you burnt her body because you're trying to hide evidence so no autopsy could be
Yeah.
performed. So it's looking like Ellen really, she targeted Ruth with laser precision and
Oh
it
yeah.
was loaded for bear. Um, Through the process of the trial, you find out that yeah, uh, all this shit was loaded, and I don't know how much do we want to spoil this one. You know what? You spoil it. You give away the big
Uh,
resolution at the court case.
I'm a Browns fan. This fucking shit, dude. I'm happy to, because that's what we do. Um, if you came for spoiler free, you came in the wrong fucking place. Um, so, first, I want to say that Vincent Price's performance in this trial is fucking masterful. I wonder if he'd done any other roles like this where he plays an attorney, because he is super fucking convincing. The only thing I think where it comes, it's not remotely close, is Witchfinder General.
Sadly, Vincent Price, for all of his amazing talent, The Fly kind of fucked him because The Fly was such a phenomenon.
Mm.
And it was such a that he wound up getting cast in every fucking horror movie from the 50s through the
Yeah,
60s onward. He didn't get juicy roles like this, and
he
he
got
should
just. Yeah.
have.
But anyway, so it comes out, he brings up the fact, like he said, that she in the will she wanted to be buried and all that stuff, but no, they had her cremated, so that looks bad on fucking Ruth. And yeah, the whole point is to pin everything on Ruth.
Yeah,
And through the course of it, it's like Vincent Price is badgering her, like you love Dick, you love him, just admit it. And then she doesn't admit it, and then gets Dick on the stand. You love Ruth, admit it. So there's
oh,
quite a bit of that going on. And then go ahead.
well, the dedication to the book comes into play again.
Yes, it
You've
does.
just
Yep.
been married for a while to your wife. Why not dedicate this book to your wife? Why dedicate it to Ruth?
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, that's another piece of the evidence that Ruth is trying to steal Dick away from Ellen this whole time, and it's again it's very loaded, and it's brilliantly done. So
So eventually, Vincent does, or Russell gets his confession. She confesses her love, and Dick confesses his love, and all that stuff. Um, but as Dick does that, he comes out with, you know what? She was an awful person. She watched my brother drown. She threw herself down the steps to kill my baby,
yeah,
and there goes the case. The
yeah,
case is thrown out. Ruth is found innocent, but since Dick knew about all this shit, didn't say anything about it. He's an accessory. At
yeah.
least, at least in the movie,
Well,
that's how they played
he
out.
also flat out, he's the one that actually puts together like she committed suicide. He's
Yes.
the one that like literally just blurts that out.
Yes, he
Ruth
said
didn't kill Ellen. Ellen killed
killed
herself.
himself.
You know. And he lays it all out. Here's how she did it. Here's why she did it. Here's what else she did. So yeah. So anyway, Dick gets 2 years as accessory to these particular crimes, and we wind up back at the beginning of the film, and there is Dick, and he's paddling out back to End of the Moon, and there is Ruth on the balcony waiting for him, and Ruth comes running down from the house, and I've got to admit, okay, like seriously, she looks so amazing. Like it's such a beautifully shot scene, but then on top of all that, Ruth looks as beautiful as Gene Tierney is. Ruth just like it's just like wow at this scene, and she comes down and Dick gets out of the boat and he meets her at the dock and they embrace and they kiss and the end and
It's a
I I
it's a
adored this
happy
movie.
ending to a fucking tragic, dark, depressing fucking movie. It's
Yeah.
like
Well, there's a just okay. This movie has so much depth to it. There's like so many themes in this film, and for like not you don't think of shit like this when you think of a 1945 film. You are not thinking like here's a movie that's showing here's this beautiful woman who from a wealthy family and she should have it all, and she's ultimately she's fucking empty inside, and she's amazingly manipulative, and she's and while there's plenty of film noir this isn't really a film noir. I know that
no,
it kind of gets thrown into that like genre, but
no,
this is
and
not shot like a film noir.
no.
It is not directed like a film noir. It is not written like a film noir. There's no hard boiled detective that's out to crack the case. It's 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 fucking sinister. Is really what it boils down
Yes,
to.
yeah.
I mean,
It's to me it's a psychological drama
yeah,
or
yeah,
thriller, but I don't know if I really call it a thriller either, because there's no real mystery. There's no mystery to anything. The only
no,
real mystery at first is just how far this woman will go to get what she wants. And to the fucking grave is where she'll fucking take it. It's fucking crazy, and it brings me back to Forever Amber again.
mhm.
When poor Cornell Wilde cannot pick his fucking women. Where Amber was manipulative, but she's more manipulative for some really for survival and for and obsession. She was obsessed with what was Cornell Wilde's character in Forever Amber?
Bruce.
Bruce.
Yes.
Bruce.
I'll
Yes.
get there. You got to give me a minute. I got to go through like the fucking movie in my head, but I'll get
Yeah.
there.
But where Amber got people killed, it was by accident. It was never intentional.
Well, I was going to say Amber didn't understand the waters that she was
Yeah.
swimming in, and the people that died around her, it was
They made her
incidental
the
because she didn't understand the code of honor between gentlemen, and she didn't understand like the highwayman's lifestyle and how risky it is. She didn't get it, and that's what led to people losing their lives. Ellen, on the other hand, she is completely at home in the waters that she's swimming in,
Mhm.
and she navigates them
Right.
entirely too well. And everything that is done when you go back when like I said when you see at the very beginning and she's like putting on this performance and I was kind of like wait this Gene Tierney acts better than this, what the fuck is going on? And then I realized oh wait, every time that you're seeing light and sweet Ellen is acting.
Mhm.
But when you see cold and calculating and that's that's the real performance right there. That's Gene Tierney showing you who this character really is. And the other thing that's funny is that if you pay attention to all the characters in this, like Cornell Wilde is playing the like he's smitten and because she's gorgeous.
Mhm.
You find me anybody that can look at Gene Tierney in this movie and go, God damn, she doesn't look good. No, Gene Tierney looks extraordinary in this film,
Yes.
and in Technicolor even more so. Um, so
But
that
Cornel Wells is he's not a chump or nothing like that.
no,
He's not a
no, not at
sap.
all.
He's just being manipulated and and not to the point where you think, oh, you're Dick, you're fucking dumb. No, not at all, because he wasn't there to see Danny die. And shit happens. Accidents happen. You fall down a step, you lose a fucking child. So there's nothing there to make him look like a fucking idiot.
No, no, not at all, not at all. And more importantly than that, I mean, you get like he's immediately infatuated with her, rightfully so. But then, then you have like the broken engagement and the awkwardness of that, and all these situations that are engineered by Ellen throughout the film, like he's reacting the way that you would expect him to. And the funny thing is, especially like when Ellen is throwing her father's ashes out, he's expecting her to be sad about it. She's broken up, she's upset, da 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 da. And when they show her face and you see the anger on it, that's not the reaction that she's having to it. So you can't fault him for ascribing to her feelings that he thinks that she's having, but she's not.
Mm-hmm.
And it also plays into the fact that he's a writer, so he has an understanding of people and how they should react in these situations, and she's completely fucking foreign to him.
Yeah.
And I love that bit about this, that there's the bit where he's writing, and he is writing about how his character is asking a woman in the book to get married, and she comes up and she goes, no, 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 no. Men don't ask women to get married. Women ask men. And well, what about us? I asked you to marry me. And she reminds him, no, you didn't. No, I asked you, and I asked you like this. And it's played off as like a sweet little thing in between the two of them, but it's not. It's not at all. It is her reminding him, I run this relationship. It's mine. And you don't really catch on to that for a couple scenes, but it's all there. It's all in there. This is one of those movies that will rewatch better than it watches, because the first time you're getting the lay of the land and you're getting to like really experience what's going on. You're the babe in the woods. You are Dick the first time you watch this film, and as you get more of a vibe as to who Ellen is as a character, like I said, this movie will rewatch wonderfully, because you are informed and you can look for all the nuance that Gene Tierney brought to this portrayal. So
I think some of the plot points were pretty telegraphed, though. I knew Danny was gonna fucking drown the second he got in the fucking water, and I knew the baby was gonna bite it too. So that part of it wasn't quite as well done. The other things I didn't like about it was the and it's it's not a fault of the film. It's squarely on me, because Gene Tierney plays such an insufferable fucking bitch, that she was hard to fucking watch. So it's a positive, but it's a negative.
It's funny that you say that, because Ellen, the character, on the exterior she's beautiful, but on the inside she's essentially empty.
Yeah.
And that theme carries through the entire movie, because when they go to the lodge in the desert, it's a beautiful place, it's a beautiful building, it's well decorated and all this, but it has this I don't want to say artificiality, it has this emptiness to it while they're there, and it's supposed to be like this warm, fun, inviting place. And that's even more so when they go to the house in Boston, end of the moon.
You're right. Every place they go to seems kind of cold and empty.
Yeah.
Every place they go to.
Needless to say, this is one of those movies that I watched it, and the more I thought about it, I liked it when I watched it, because again, it had everything going in its favor. It's a super compelling story, but then the more I think about it, the more I like it, the more I appreciate it. So I had said that this had won an Academy Award. I was mistaken. It won an Academy Award for Best Cinematography, which it richly deserved, because every shot in this film looks like a painting. It is one of the most gorgeous looking films I think I've ever seen. And this is right after World War II. So shooting it in color was like really weird, because Laura, which came out the year before this, was black and white, and The Razor's Edge, which came out the year after this, was in black and white. So this is one of the few Gene Tierney movies from this time period that's done in color, and it's beautiful. Everything about it is great. Gene Tierney was nominated for Best Actress for this film, but Joan Crawford, I think, won for Mildred, if I'm not mistaken. And then Cornell Wilde was nominated, but not for this film, which I get it. No, I get it because in this movie, his character is fairly straightforward. There's
Yes,
not a ton of
it is.
nuance to Richard. What you see is what you get. He's a kind, intelligent guy who falls in love. That's it in a nutshell. It's not the most demanding performance. Gene Tierney, on the other hand, there are just layers and layers and layers to everything that she's got going on. Ruth, however, was nominated for a Supporting Actress Academy Award. Neither of them won, which I find kind of tragic. But yeah, it just did win for best cinematography, but it did not win for best picture. So I was
Well,
mistaken in that regard.
I can understand. Okay, I should say understand. I know I got fucking snubbed because it's fucking racy as fuck. Is what it is.
This is the kind of stuff that I point to when people go, "Oh, well, back in my day, back in the good old days, blah blah." Bullshit. If everything was so sweet and light and airy and pure, then why the hell is a movie like this even getting made? Because
Yeah.
obviously this shit happened to somebody. So yeah, no, sorry, the good old days, they weren't that good. You are just forgetting the edgy shit, or you want to make now seem worse than it is.
Yeah.
That's the truth of the matter right there. Go watch this fucking movie. Just you know what? You just watch it. Just buy the fucking Blu-ray or stream that shit or whatever. Find it. It's floating around out there. But yeah, no, you definitely need to watch this movie. That's my take. Well, what are your thoughts on it?
When it said noir, I was expecting noir. This obviously is not a noir, not for me.
Yeah.
And then also too, Gin Tierney is not what I would consider a classic femme fatale. Is she a dangerous woman? Yeah. Did she kill some people? Kinda, sorta.
Is
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's kind of semantics here, but at the same time, when I think of like a femme fatale, I'm thinking like your classic noir femme fatale, where she is putting the protagonist in harm's way. Cornwell's never put in harm's way.
no.
No. So is she a dangerous woman? Yeah, I guess she could be a femme fatale, but not in the way they're usually portrayed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's that. So I want to say I was pleasantly surprised with this. Um, I was still happy with the film. I
Yeah.
think if somebody would have said, if I wasn't preloaded with the idea that this is a noir film, I would have enjoyed it more because at the time I was watching, it's like this isn't noir. It's very it's Hitchcock, but it's not done as well as a Hitchcock film too either.
Well, it's also
It,
like it's also 15 years before Hitchcock's heyday.
right,
You know,
but
so
so
this is pre-Hitchcock
I
Hitchcock.
I, I get that. I get that. So it's like there's a lot of good. There's a shit ton of good stuff here. Really good stuff. Um, I do like the movie. I do like it. Would I recommend it? Again, this I got to do the divide. If you're a film buff, absolutely watch all day long. If you're just a casual movie watcher, you're not ready for this shit. You're absolutely not ready for this shit. I was barely ready for this. Okay, you're not ready for this. Start off with something else. I don't know what yet. Maybe you could chime in here.
I was gonna like, really, you're right. It's not a film noir. This is not the Maltese Falcon. This is not Laura. This is not the Lady Vanishes. It's none of those. And why it's categorized as a noir? Well, it's because the director was famous for doing film noir, so naturally they just kind of lumped us in. This is more of a dark character study. And I mean, for me, honestly, um, this is kind of, it's tragic. Um, but no, you're right. This is not something for, if you cannot be entertained by a lot of scenes of people having very heavy conversations, this is not a movie for you. Go throw in the Cannonball Run or whatever. This is not you. But if you are into movies that are very character driven, that are very, that are not afraid to confront some really serious dark shit, throw this one in. You will not be disappointed. I think it
Well,
was a great pick. I enjoyed the hell out of
I
it.
did
Is
too.
this
I did too.
is this a movie for everybody? No, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. This is definitely going to be something that I rewatch. Um, and I'm don't feel like I got ripped off buying the Blu-ray, so I'm good.
No, it was a good solid pick. So thank you, Mike. You're welcome. Because usually you pick these movies, and I was going to thank you for a second. It's like, no, wait, I picked this actually.
I'm thrilled that you picked this movie. I'm thrilled that you got to introduce me to a Gene Tierney movie, number one. Number two, I'm glad that you picked a movie that was made not in our lifetimes. So you know what? For me, it's exciting to see your taste in film broaden.
Yeah,
So,
right on. Speaking of taste in films, is there any recommendations you have?
oh well, Laura,
Mhm.
The Razor's Edge, uh, Casablanca. If you're into, character studies, I should have prepped for this part better. I'm just so hung up on Gene Tierney.
It's all right. Because
Look, let
I
me just
got my
say this:
favorites
if
going to
you
rattle
did
off
not
here
watch
too.
Forever
So
Amber when we reviewed it, you need to go back and watch it now because that kind of perfectly works its way into this. So,
what movie?
um, Forever Amber.
Oh yes, yes it does. Yes.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
if you watch this and you enjoy this, go back and watch that one because you're gonna love it. Jane Eyre, and then Jane Eyre is another one of those tragic love story kind of movies. I think you'll dig that one. What about you? What do you
Well,
recommend?
well, again, I'm recommending these for myself and for you as well, because these are movies we haven't seen, and since I was just now introduced to Jean Crane, I'm gonna check out some Jean Crane movies
So, well, there you go. So,
because she's hot. So we have this one first caught my eye: Hot Rods to Hell, also known as 52 Miles to Terror. So that's probably the first one I'm going to try to find. There's another one called The Tattered Dress, which had a nice provocative cover on it that I want to check out. But here's one that I think you'll have good interest in, and that I will definitely go check out. Is oh, hang on a sec here. Oh, Centennial Summer.
okay.
Uh, it has Cornel Wilde and Linda Darnell.
Oh, you brought up Alfred Hitchcock, and this is
Well, hang on a second.
very Hitchcock. North
Let
by
me,
Northwest is another one I would throw in there, which it's got a very similar kind of look and almost vibe to it. But North by Northwest is a bit more fantastical than this one.
it is. Um, just to finish up the Jean Crane list, Pinky, which I mentioned earlier, as one she was nominated for Best Actress, and then Man Without a Star that has Kirk Douglas in it, and it's a western.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right. Well,
that look interesting. But I am for sure going to try to find Hot Ross to Hell. Just as a title, and then Centennial Summer because so far Cornel Wilde is 2 for 2, and Leonard Darnell, and shit.
I get it. I completely understand. So, um, anything else to say about?
No, man, I think we hit everything we need to hit, and then some.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
This
So,
is probably the deepest dive we've had in a while on something like this, because we actually dove a little bit more into the actors that we have in a while. And yeah. So
so
this is gonna be a long one. This ain't gonna be under an hour, and I'm okay with it.
you know what? I'm okay. This movie deserves it. To be honest, it's this is such a complex piece of cinema that there's no fast and easy way to talk about it. And when we were going through the plot, I felt like we went through the plot relatively quickly, and I'm thinking, but it's not about the plot. It's about the performances and the characters. And again, there's so much stuff in this movie that words and don't do it justice. You really do need to experience this one.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So Tony, What are we watching next?
Next, we are going in a little different direction. We are going to be watching the classic film The Crow.
Yeah, excited for this one. It's a good one. I mean, it's a great comic book movie or
It's
graphic
actually,
novel movie, whatever you want to call it.
I'm going to actually say this is like everybody says that Blade was the first comic book movie, and I picked this one because I actually think The Crow is the first modern comic book movie, and it's the movie that every other movie owes its lineage to because of the look of the film, because of the pacing of the film, and I want to talk a little bit about the actual. I don't want to talk about Brandon Lee's death because it's tragic, but it's been done to death, and it's. I don't find that to be the most interesting part of the film. I would, however, like to talk a bit more about the graphic novel and the adaptation process that went into that and the story behind that. I think that's far more fascinating. And I think this is actually the beginning of taking advantage of modern cinema language
Mhm.
to tell a non-conventional hero story.
Yeah.
So, so yeah. So that's what we'll be checking out next time.
Cool. See you guys next time.
Peace. Anything with Orson Welles is great. Watch it no matter what. But yeah, definitely watch Jane Eyre.
You know, you said that, but I tried watching. Oh god damn it! What the fuck was that movie? Touching
Yeah,
Evil.
yeah, yeah.
I turned that off after 15 minutes.
Um,
And what it was is the way it was shot and the way it was acted and the way it was paced. It was just too fast and too frantic and just too like yeah. It was very off putting and very unsettling and it wasn't for me. I turned
I
it off.
understand. I
I
understand.
may
But
I may go back to it, but there's $4 I won't get back anytime soon.